Okay, in this lesson I'm going to talk to you about how to play chords properly. So to start with, I just need to show you a little bit about making sure that you're holding the guitar properly, so that when you do play these two chords, it's not too much of a struggle. You don't want your thumb over the top. If your thumb's sticking over the top, you haven't got proper use of your fingers, you won't be able to reach the stretchers and you're going to struggle. So you need your thumb to be about halfway down the neck, like you're doing a thumbs up to somebody in the distance. We're going to start with the E minor chord. So we're going to start by putting our first finger on the 5th string up, the A string, just behind the 2nd fret. And then we're going to get the 2nd finger, which is the middle finger, and that's going to go on the 2nd fret on the 4th string up. So it's going to tuck underneath that 1st finger. And when you do it, you might have to push your 1st finger back a little bit so that you can fit them both behind the fret. They can't both touch the fret at the same time. And that will give you E minor. I'm going to strum it. Now notice when I strum it, I get the low string, E, and I get the 2 notes that I'm fretting, and then I hear the 3 open strings as well underneath. And the way I've achieved that is by arching my fingers. I'm playing on the tips of my fingers, and I've come round. Now if you're finding that quite difficult, a problem that a lot of people have is their fingers are quite straight and they bend the wrist. You see that all the time, and that's not the best way of playing a chord. It's going to hurt your wrist, it's overextending your tendons. So we need to bend our fingers, not the wrist, and try and get them hooked round, and that's going to be made easier if our thumb isn't too high. A big problem also that people often suffer with trying to achieve this is that they push the head of the guitar down too far, or they lean the guitar too far backwards. If your guitar is leaning backwards, you've got further to reach round, so you can make life even harder. If your guitar head is pointing down too far, again you're going to have to go under. It's going to be really difficult. So pushing the head up can make a difference. If you're struggling with this, getting a guitar to a position where the head is pointing up, you may need to think about how you're sitting. Your feet should be on the floor, so your chair shouldn't be too high, and you may need to put some books down or a box and get your knee a bit higher. That might make it feel comfortable, but you need to find a way that you can sit comfortably, head up a little bit on your guitar, your fingers curved round. So we're on the E minor chord. So if you remember, we've got the 2nd frets on the 5th string and the 4th string. Now I'm going to transition that into a G chord. Now to change to G, we're going to take the finger that's on the 4th string, on the D string, that's the middle finger, or the 2nd finger. We'll leave the other finger on. We're going to lift that one off, the 2nd finger. Can you see what I've done? I'm going to move it to the 3rd fret on the low string. Now if I strummed all the strings at this point, I get a G6 chord, it's called. It's a nice sounding chord, and in actual fact if you struggle with the next bit, you can use that instead of G. But that's a bit of a cheat. The proper way of playing G would also include adding your 3rd finger, the finger that hasn't been used so far, to play the 3rd fret on the high E string, right there. Now that's quite difficult for a lot of people, and it's made much more difficult if you aren't curving your fingers like I said earlier, and then the G chord will sound like this. We've now moved on to G. That's the starting chord for Songbird. So to play Songbird, you're going to get 4 bars of G followed by 4 bars of E minor, and that just goes round and round to the end of the song. When I say a bar, I'm talking about 4 beats of music in this particular case. The simplest way of getting that across would just be to strum downwards with your plectrum 4 times for G. That's 1 bar of G. You have to do that 4 times, and then you're going to move to E minor. Now, when I change chords and I move between chords, I try to make sure that, like when I was showing you to play E minor to G, that I leave fingers on if I can. I try and move in a careful, considered way, so I don't just take my hand away and rebuild the chord. So when I change from G to E minor, I'm going to lift those fingers off and leave my 1st finger on because it's in the right place, and just tuck that 2nd finger underneath it, and there's E minor. So using that simplified strumming pattern of just 4 beats, we'll get G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, G. Going to change to E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it will move back to G for the same amount of time, and it will keep cycling around the song to do that. The proper strumming for the song is a little bit more complicated. The song uses a rhythm cat, cat, monkey, monkey. It uses 2 crotchets, which are 4 beats, and then 4 quavers, which are half beats. So for a cat, we strum down, and for a monkey, we strum down, up. So when we play this song, we're going to go cat, cat, monkey, monkey. We're going to go down, 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 up, down, up. Now if you watch my right arm, it's just going to be doing this. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. So the song will sound like second time. 3, 4th time, and then we change. Now, the thing I would say to anybody practicing this is, and the first thing you need to do is just practice playing from one chord to the next. So just play your E minor, listen to the notes. Is it working? Now practice this move first. Get the second finger up, put it on the 3rd fret, put the 3rd finger on the 3rd fret on the high string, and strum. And then just practice moving back to the E minor. You want to practice that a lot, maybe 8 times, for a few times in a row, a few sessions in a row, before you're really going to be managing to change the chords on the fly and play the song properly. I also then would encourage people to practice the strumming separately without the change. So you might put one of the chords on. If say you're struggling with the G chord, make yourself put it on, work your time, get that G on, and then just work on doing the strumming pattern round and round, and that will get your rhythms going. So just cat, cat, monkey, monkey, cat, cat, monkey, monkey, cat, cat, monkey, monkey, cat, monkey. You'll notice that I'm strumming with a plectrum or pick, some people call it. A really nice way of starting with you holding a pick is to start with your hand like this. You see what I'm doing? There's just an open palm, open hand, and I just fold my fingers in, and I put the pick so it points out that way, and I grip it with my thumb. That gives me a nice solid grip, lots of skin on the pick, which gives me a really good grip, so it's less likely to drop. There are other ways of holding a pick. This one's a particularly efficient one, and it means you're much less likely to drop the pick. You can actually fan your other fingers out. You can do, it doesn't matter what happens with the rest of your hand after that. It's just getting that grip. And then when we pluck, I can then move my hand in, and I've just got a little wrist movement for my strumming. So I would suggest that the next best thing for you to do would be to have a listen to the song on YouTube or Spotify. It's a short song, it's only got those 2 chords in it. There is a little bit more detail. There's an organ you'll hear on the song, and there's a tambourine and singing on the top of it. It's a great song to practice playing along to. As soon as you've gone through the first few days of working on the chords and the strumming, you should be able to try playing along with the song. So I hope you have fun trying that and practicing those chords E minor and G. They're a really good pair of chords to start with. We're going to move on and add more chords in some of my later lessons so that we can get up to some of the grade 1 rock and pop pieces, which will need us to play 5 chords, 5 different chords, and some of this strumming. So this is the first step.